Life is rough on the CW's Riverdale, that's for sure. Headed into the final episodes of the 6th season, the gang is facing off against an immortal being, Percival Pickens, Chris O'Shea, who seeks to bring about the apocalypse. This is something that Tabitha Tate, Erinn Westbrook, has already seen, along with several of Percival's failed attempts, with her ability to travel backward and forward in time. Meanwhile, Betty Cooper, Lili Reinhart, has continued her search into the Trash Bag Killer, who has gotten far too close for comfort over the last several episodes, all while dealing with the unresolved trauma of her father grooming her to become a serial killer as a child. What a world. But, putting aside the world-altering plots and serial killer schemes, one of the most exciting aspects of the new season has been watching Betty and Archie, KJ Appa, give their romance a real chance after waiting years for this to finally come to fruition. Collider video of the day. They've been exploring their new life together, facing challenges together, and making their best efforts to ensure this relationship survives and is long-lasting. However, one of the major roadblocks for Betty in this relationship has always been the fact that she feels shrouded in darkness because of her childhood, her intimate ties to two serial killers, and the fact that she possesses the serial killer gene passed down from her mother. She's always been so worried about opening up to Archie about this because, as she sees it, Archie is her light. A light she never wants to dim. This is finally addressed in Season 6, Episode 17, and it is definitely worth the wait. In this episode, Betty and Veronica, Camila Mendez, put on a serial killer convention at the Babylonium as a ruse to attract and catch TBK before he can cause more harm to Betty or anyone else. Using herself as bait, Betty opens up about her experience being kidnapped and trapped in a well by TBK, admitting to dismembering a body so he would let her go. Matters are further complicated for Betty when her underling at the FBI, Agent Drake, Sophia Tatum, admits to having romantic feelings for Betty, and questions whether Betty can truly be herself with Archie. This causes Betty to spiral for a bit, but a conversation with Veronica about the situation helps Betty to free herself, at least a little bit, from the weight she's putting on her own shoulders, and she finally decides to open up to Archie about the darkness within her. But, before Betty can talk with Archie, she arrives home to the Andrews house, where she has recently moved into, to see TBK in her bedroom next door. As she arrives at the scene, she finds her mother, Alice, maid Janamic, and brother, Charles, Wyatt Nash, tied up at the kitchen table. Making her way to the garage, TBK declares, once again, that they are incredibly similar. Betty states she's nothing like him, using the gun her father used to kill his victims to shoot TBK, marking the end of the infamous serial killer that has been on the loose for about a season and a half now. With TBK's death comes a gigantic step forward for Betty in many aspects of her life. It's the end of the man who held her captive and has haunted her dreams for far too long. It's a major step forward at work, and she can focus on other opportunities. But, most of all, it's a step forward for Betty to let go of some of the fear that she's going to become just like these serial killers that she has devoted herself to stopping since her sophomore year of high school. She also recognizes it as a chance to truly be open with Archie. In the scene just before the episode cuts to black, Betty opens up about her fear that she's going to turn out to be like her father, giving into the darkness, and it'll impact Archie if they're still together in the future. But, Archie isn't concerned in the slightest. He explains that Betty may not trust herself, but Archie trusts her with his life. That she's not just the darkness that resides inside of her. His words also make it clear that her darkness isn't going to scare him off either. In the past, Betty has almost always been the first to act in her relationship with Archie. In the first season, Betty confesses her love for Archie, though he doesn't reciprocate at the time. When the two are sneaking around in the fourth season, cheating on Veronica and Jughead, it's Betty who calls things off. Even in the fifth season, post-time jump, when Betty and Archie are in their friends with benefits era, it's a mutual decision. Betty pushes Archie away because of the darkness that's practically enveloping her due to Polly, Tbks, disappearing and still recovering from Tbks. It's important to note because, this time, it's Archie making the first move and delivering his "I love you" first. Archie isn't one to ever really express his feelings, so it makes the scene even more powerful by having Archie open up about why he loves Betty after she makes herself more vulnerable to him than ever before. Many have been waiting for this moment for a long time, but it's incredibly touching how much care is put into this exchange. The scene embodies of the sentiment that Archie is Betty's light. He ensures her that she is so much more than the darkness inside of her, and she's fought so hard after enduring so much trauma throughout her life. Betty has been holding herself back in this relationship because she's been terrified of losing the person that has been her rock since childhood. But, it seems that Archie may be more in tune with Betty than she ever believed. He has seen the best in her even when she couldn't see it herself. While Betty remembered and focused on the time her father made her kill the cat, Archie remembers and reminds Betty of the time when they nursed a baby bird back to full health. His confession and Betty's fear proved this relationship is so much deeper than anyone expected the writers would go. Waiting until Betty opened up to Archie and delved deeper into her childhood trauma was the right call. It made this confession even more meaningful, as the two are now on the same page completely. It seems like there will be a major shift after this where they aren't afraid to fully rely on one another, too, which is exciting. Betty no longer has to worry about dimming Archie's light, and she has someone to completely stand by her and remind her of the light inside herself, too. It's been a long but worthwhile wait for this pivotal and beautiful moment. Riverdale continues Sundays at 8 p.m. ET on the CW.